Hey, unmarried swans, here's a fun fact before we start ruining your whole week. YouTube was originally supposed to be a dating website. Not a joke. 3 guys built it in 2005 because dating sites back then didn't let you upload video profiles, so they built the upload tool first. And the dating part just evaporated. Died in the crib. Which is the greatest metaphor for marriage I've ever found. Starts with, let's find you a life partner. Ends with cat videos and a comment section that hates each other. Every relationship on this list. Let's go! Top 5 marriage horror stories. Number 5. This is Herod the Great and Mariamne, 1st century BCE, Judea. Herod is Rome's client king, ruthless, paranoid, obsessed with control. Mariamne is a Hasmonean princess, married partly for legitimacy, partly because she's the last living link to the old royal bloodline he needs people to respect. Problem is, Herod's paranoia never stops climbing. He has her brother drowned accidentally, has her grandfather executed, and eventually convinces himself on shaky evidence that Mariamne herself is plotting against him. So he puts his own wife on trial and has her executed. And then, this is where it stops being a tragedy and starts being a horror comedy. Herod reportedly falls apart, wanders the palace screaming her name, and by some ancient, heavily disputed, deeply unhinged accounts, keeps her body preserved in honey for years afterward, so he doesn't have to actually let her go. Kills the wife over paranoia, then can't physically part with the corpse. Absolute chaos of a man. Number 4. Livia Drusilla and Augustus, Rome, 1st century BCE. Livia is already married with a young son when Augustus, freshly crowned as Rome's first emperor, decides he wants her specifically. So he forces her husband to divorce her, and Augustus divorces his own pregnant wife the same week, all so the two of them can marry. 52 years together, and by the outside they look like the ideal Roman power couple. But Livia has one obsession, getting her son Tiberius on the throne instead of any of Augustus's own bloodline heirs. And one by one, Augustus's chosen heirs, his nephew, his grandsons, his closest allies, start mysteriously dying off, always right when they're in Livia's way. Ancient historians flat out accused her of poisoning her way through the family tree. Augustus dies old and suspicious. Tiberius becomes emperor exactly on schedule, and Livia spends the next decades denying everything. From a palace she basically cleared out herself. Number 3. Henry II and Eleanor of Aquitaine, England and France, 12th century. Eleanor is one of the most powerful women in Europe in her own right. She's already been Queen of France once. She owns half of what is now France outright. And Henry marries her mainly because it doubles his territory overnight. For years it works. They have 8 kids. It's a genuine political machine of a marriage. Then, their grown sons start rebelling against Henry to grab power early, and Eleanor, their own mother, backs the rebellion against her husband. Henry finds out, doesn't divorce her, doesn't execute her, just locks her in a castle for the next 16 years. 16 years of imprisonment, and the second Henry dies, her son, Richard the Lionheart, lets her out. And she runs half the kingdom's affairs like nothing happened. Number 2. Catherine de' Medici and Henry II of France, 16th century. Catherine is married off from Italy as a teenager to secure an alliance, and Henry basically ignores her from day one because he's obsessed with his mistress, Diane de Poitiers, a woman 20 years older than Catherine, who Henry treats as the real queen in everything but title. Catherine spends over a decade unable to have children, while her husband publicly favors another woman, and the whole court watches her humiliation happen in real time. Then Henry dies in a freak jousting accident, and Catherine, the ignored, humiliated wife everyone forgot about, becomes the most powerful person in France for the next 30 years, ruling through 3 of her own sons, and reportedly making sure Diane de Poitiers loses every single property Henry ever gave her. Number 1. Ivan the Terrible, Russia, 16th century. Ivan marries 7, maybe 8 times, which was already scandalous by Orthodox Church rules that technically only allowed 3 marriages. His first wife, Anastasia, is the one he actually seems to love, and when she suddenly dies, Ivan becomes convinced she was poisoned by rival nobles, and it sends him into the paranoid spiral that earns him the terrible nickname. Every wife after that either dies suspiciously fast, gets accused of witchcraft, or gets forced into a convent the moment Ivan loses interest. In one particularly unhinged episode, he suspects his own son's wife of dressing immodestly, gets into a rage, and in the fight that follows, accidentally kills his own son and heir with his staff. Married 8 times looking for stability, ended his own bloodline with his own hands. So, here's your prize for making it this far, unmarried swans. Every relationship on this list started exactly like YouTube. Grand founding premise, we're building something beautiful, and ends somewhere nobody recognizes. Stay single. Till next time, I'm Fox, and I'm getting Rasputin to officiate my next situationship.